going over page 9 in your math packet. So the first part here, it wanted us to divide the numbers. So I did that for you already. So 44 divided by 11 equals 4. So again, when we're dividing, we're just thinking about how many times this number goes into this number. So if I counted by 11s, it would be 11, 22, 33, 44. So basically, that would be 11 times 4 is 44. So when we do it thinking about division, it would be 44 divided by 11 equals 4. So 16 divided by 8 equals 2. 27 divided by 9 equals 3. 24 divided by 2 equals 12. 10 divided by 5 equals 2. 12 divided by 4 equals 3. 15 divided by 3 equals 5. 28 divided by 4 equals 7. And 36 divided by 6 equals 6. And again, a good way to check your division, if you're not sure, is to go back and multiply your quotient times your smaller number and see if it equals your bigger number. And if it does, then you know you did it correctly. So the next part, it wants us to circle the even quotients. So just as a reminder, I'm going to put up here our even numbers. So if a number ends in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, it is even. So let's go through our quotients and see which ones are even. So here we have a 4, that is an even quotient. We have a 2 here, that is an even quotient. We have a 3 here, that is not an even quotient. 12 ends with a 2, that is an even quotient. 2 again, that is an even quotient. 3 is not an even quotient. 5 is not an even quotient. 7 is not an even quotient. 6 is an even quotient. So we have 4, 2, 12, 2 again, and 6. Those are our even quotients because they end in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. So for the clock, I'm not going to attempt to draw the lines on because it's just too hard to read. So we'll just talk about it. So 5:55. So remember, when we're talking about our hours, that would be our smaller hand, and our minutes, which is our 55, would be our bigger hand. And when we're doing our minutes, we start at the 12 and we count by 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and then back to the 12, which is 0, 0. So 5:55, the smaller hand would be almost at the 6 because at 5:55 it is almost 6 o'clock. So it would be very close to the 6 here. And the minute hand would be at the 11 because remember, if we're counting by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. So that large hand would be pointing over here to that 11. So the small hand would be almost at the 6 and the large hand would be at the 11. Let's look at 7:53 here. So we'll do the hour first. So again, the smaller hand would be between the 7 and the 8, but at 7:53 it's almost 8 o'clock, so it would be very close to the 8. And the large hand, if we're thinking about our minutes, again, counting by 5, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. So if this is 53, we know it's in between the 10, which is the 50, and the 11, which is the 55. So it would be right in here somewhere. So the small hand would be between the 7 and the 8, almost at the 8, and the large hand would be between the 10 and the 11. The next time we have here is 8:10. So if we're talking about our hour, our smaller hand, that would be at the 8. 8:10 is not really that close to 9, so it would be closer to the 8. And 10, if we're counting by 5, starting at our 12, so 5, 10. So our larger hand would be at our 10. So again, our smaller hand would be at our 8, very close to our 8 here, and our larger hand would be at our 2, which means 10. And last one of these, we have 9, 12. So our small hand, our hour hand, would be very close to the 9, between the 9 and the 10, but closer to the 9 because it's at the beginning of the hour. And then our minute hand, if we're counting by 5, starting at the 12, so 5, 10, 15. So if this is 12, it's going to be between that 2 and the 3 because this is 10 and this is 15. So it would be right in the middle there. All right. So again, the small hand or the hour hand would be between the 9 and the 10, but closer to the 9. And the large hand, which is the minute hand, would be right in between that 2 and the 3. All right, so that is it for our time. We have a few word problems here that have to do with time. So it says the firework starts at 9:30 p.m. They last for 20 minutes. What time do the fireworks end? So if I'm thinking about minutes here, because it's talking about 20 minutes, our minutes in this time, 9:30, was 30, okay? And it said they lasted for 20 minutes. So I'm going to take my 20 and my 30, and I'm going to add them together. So that would be 50, okay? So that would mean that our minutes change from 30 to 50, and our hours stay the same. So it would be 9:50, and it would still be p.m., okay? So let me just write it for you one more time. So 9:30 plus 20 minutes. So we would add 20 to this 30 here because this is our minutes, would equal 9:50. And we are still in p.m., which means it would be at 9:50 at night. Okay? All right, and our last one on this page here, it says the summer festival ends at 7:30 p.m. It lasts for 2 hours. What time does the festival start? So this one's a little tricky. So it's telling us what time it ends, which was, oops, got rid of my text box here, which was 7:30. And it lasted for 2 hours. So 7:30 was the time it ended. It had started 2 hours before that, okay? So I need to subtract my 2 hours from my 7 here, because this is the hour and this time's 7. And it started 2 hours before this, so I would need to take away those 2 hours. So that would equal 5, which would mean that it started at 5:30 p.m. Let me stretch that out a little. So again, this is the time it ended. It started 2 hours before that. So we need to take the hour and this time, 7, subtract the 2 because it started 2 hours before, which would be 5, which means it started at 5:30 p.m. All right, that is it for this video. I will talk to you soon.